In previous Camtasia, I have covered part A, B, and C of the placement logbooks. These are all consistent across all 4 placement logbooks. Today, I'll just be focusing on placement logbook 3, which is the subacute and acute placement. So if we scroll straight to the Part D performance observation checklist, these checklists are basically designed for the students to demonstrate appropriate knowledge and skill and demonstrate performance competently in accordance with the observation checklist that we have below. So as you can see on this first table here, we just have a summary of the different units of competency, the different performance evidence, and where that will be demonstrated. We have 5 different skills that need to be demonstrated in the placement, and these other ones will be demonstrated in simulation, the grayed out ones. We still encourage you to seek opportunities to demonstrate these whilst on placement, but you will not be assessed formally against them. The very first observation checklist that we'll be covering is performing wound care management, wound assessment, health evaluation, and evaluating a person's wound on 3 different wounds in the workplace. As a requirement, the 3 wounds needs to be at least 1 simple and 1 complex, and then the third one can be either simple or complex. So that just depends on what you where an opportunity arises. You're required to demonstrate 1 successful attempt on each of these wounds. If you're unsuccessful, there is opportunity here for the second attempt. Regarding a simple and a complex wound, a simple wound can basically be defined as a very simple dressing, a basic dressing that requires aseptic technique. It might be just a dry dressing over a wound that has very minimal ooze or complications with it. Whereas complex dressing would be defined as something that needs more than just a dry dressing. So it could be a moist dressing, it could have gel applied, might be normal saline packing or soaking required. More than likely the wound would be oozing, you would have exudate and would have slough on it. So that is your complex dressing. So we would hope that you would be able to be quite clear on what you're dressing, and the more complex wounds that you're able to dress, the better opportunity it is. The performance evidence skills, it basically goes through the process of how you would dress the wound, and obviously you'll be doing that under the supervision of the registered nurse that you're working with. The person that deems you competent will circle satisfactory and initial underneath that. They'll also, for all checklists, provide feedback on how you performed whilst undertaking that assessment, and then you will be able to respond in accordance to the feedback that you've received. For wound management, students will also be doing reflection. So there is a reflection for each of the 3 wounds that you dress. So we've got here, this is the very first one, the simple wound. And basically it's just, you need to provide a description of what that wound looked like, where you found it to be located. And we want you to use the terminology that you've been taught in class, you know, things like describing the wound edge. Was it raised? Was it red? Was it healing? Was it not? You need to describe the dressings and any other care that you may have applied. It could be simple education to the patient, as well as, you know, how you saw the wound in your own eyes and what it looked like for you, and what you thought was the best plan of attack for it. The complex wound reflection is basically the same thing, but we want you to describe those things like the oozing, the exudate, whether it had slough, whether you needed to clean or soak or provide different types of dressings or gels for that particular wound. Same again, was it healing, was it not healing, was it raised? Perhaps what was the cause of the wound? And this will apply for the third reflection because it'll either be a simple or a complex wound.